Greetings and welcome to the Superb Diamond Rain Show. This is episode 25 and this is your host Superb, broadcasting from Edinburgh. Today's date's the 6th of April 2015 and today's topic's going to be about the art of self-confidence. Now, the reason I've decided to talk about self-confidence is I've been noticing quite a bit throughout my life that there's been people that I've been meeting and I've been in groups where I've noticed that I've definitely felt in myself a lack of self-confidence in approaching them and talking to them and even breaking the ice with them. And this sort of, happened many times in my life, even back at school. I remember there were certain students at school where I felt I couldn't really relate to them or I didn't know what to talk to them about. So I would just be pretty quiet around them. And I used to try to wonder how to break ice with them or how to make conversation. And I used to see other people doing it really easily and freely. And I always believed they must have more self-confidence and more maybe social skills, I guess. So I definitely felt at school, a lot of the time we were denied this. And then obviously there was situations where we would be made to feel embarrassed by being humiliated by other students, and things like that always affect your self-confidence. And your family as well, how your family raised you, your friends, there's many different factors that affect your self-confidence. In particular, even at work, there's plenty of people that I can see just freely chatting and very confident in what they're doing and how they approach each other, but not everybody is going to be the same. For me, I've always felt that it's important to conquer our fears, and obviously things like self-confidence is very important in everyday life, because the more confident we are, the more challenges we can overcome. For me, I look at it like in sport, for example. You've got somebody like Mike Tyson in his prime, and he has really high self-confidence, and probably more so than his opponents. So therefore he would go in for the kill, and a lot of his opponents could sense this, and they didn't believe in themselves, so they had low self-confidence, and usually they got knocked out early, or they just wasn't ready, sort of thing, for the test. And I remember seeing an interview with Larry Holmes, another former boxer, that was talking about when he fought Mike Tyson that he wasn't ready for him at the time, but obviously Mike Tyson was ready for him. Now, in terms of Mike Tyson being younger and him being a lot older, that's one thing, but also you get fighters that are mentally and physically ready, and on their day they can win the fight, kind of thing. And I feel that for us in our lives as well, that there's a lot of things that affect our self-confidence. One of them is possibly the fear of the unknown. So if we don't know how to do something, we struggle to allow ourselves to get on. And a lot of people that are confident usually know what they're doing, so they'll have more experience, and they'll probably have tactics that they use to show their self-confidence. Obviously a lot of people always fake it till you make it, sort of thing, so they'll just pretend like they know what they're doing, but they don't, and they're just sort of trying to wing it or whatever. Obviously practice, they'll practice a lot, because obviously practice makes perfect. And also you got to kind of remove yourself from people that try to take your energy, people that they might put you down, or they might try to say that you're worthless, you're no good, you're useless at something, when I believe we're all powerful and we can do anything pretty much. So it's just a case of supporting people and helping people overcome their lack of self-confidence. and you've got to just believe in yourself. If you want others to believe in you, so just showing that you really want to be confident and you want to go all out, I think is important. And somebody once said to me that, particularly in a workplace, that you should never be afraid to ask for help, or if you're doing too much, to kind of delegate your duties. So, ask somebody to kind of, share the load basically, without obviously taking advantage of each other. But that definitely can make things better, and showing people how to do things, and and involving people as well, because I've been in situations where you might be at a party or somebody's house, and there'll be people that are really quiet, and there might be 4 or 5 people and only 2 or 3 people are talking and 2 people are left out. Obviously trying to make the effort to introduce them into the conversation and try to get them involved. So you might bring up something that interests them, whether it be sport, or, well, maybe that's not the best example, but something that they're interested in, maybe a movie or a book, and or a topic that interests them, like archaeology, or anything really, that that you can kind of bring them into the conversation and get them sort of going. I think it's really important. Ultimately, it's something we've all got to work on, and not everyone's going to be in a situation where they can always be self-confident and they can sort of walk into a room and take over the room and just be in the light, so to speak. But the main thing is that we keep building on ourselves and try and be the best people we can be, because there's always going to be people out there that are going to try and keep you down, and they're going to say you're no good, and you don't know what you're doing, and and they're just trying to rob you of your energy basically. So the important thing is to look in the mirror at yourself and say, I'm going to go and I'm going to show them how it's done, and I'm going to go and be the light, so to speak. And I think that's definitely important. And you've got to build it as well. You've got to really build your confidence up. So and that goes from, that can happen in stages, or it could happen really fast. And there'll be people where they might be getting taken advantage of a lot, and one day they decide that enough's enough, like almost like a balloon. You keep blowing up the balloon, and then one day you burst it, and then the person just goes crazy, kind of thing. And that can happen too. So for the people that do kind of make fun of people and try to keep people down, there's always that moment that could happen where I call it like a turning point, or even a turning of the tide. So I always kind of look forward to that, because I always want to see people that aren't kind of doing as well as they could be, or being as powerful as they could, going down sort of those lines, and trying to improve themselves. So but the important thing is, like, to kind of not believe that nothing, like, to not be thinking that things are impossible, and to start believing everything's possible, and that you can do anything you want in this world. And all you got to do is put your mind to it, and have some self-confidence and belief in yourself. And as they say, the world's your oyster. You can go anywhere, do anything. You can be with the type of people you want to be with. If you want to interact with certain people that at the beginning you were like, I can't talk to them. It might be, for example, a female, or you might approach them and you might be thinking, well, I don't know what to say to them. How do you talk to them? Because that's another big issue. Is a lot of guys have trouble with women. They're really nervous, and they can talk all day to their friends about football and sport, but when it comes to women, they don't even know how to how to make conversation with them. And like, another thing I've kind of picked up on as well, is sometimes when you're trying to make conversation with other people, they might give you like short answers, and you kind of get the impression that they don't want to talk to you. And it could be that legitimately they don't want to talk to you. It could be that they're not in the mood, or many different reasons. But not to give up on it, to try talking to the people. And when I was sort of in my younger days, when I used to do jobs where basically I was, had a lot of stress or was very nervous, I realized that talking to people about things and, just venting my, feelings and emotions helped me a lot. And a lot of people say it's not good to bottle up these things. So it's very important to kind of really go all out and, try and, not hold back, basically, to try and, really push yourself and do, in everything. And it's a nightmare. It's like, I remember people that you just, I tried to talk to them and it just wasn't happening. And I used to think, well, why? Why is it everyone else can? And sometimes you've got to realize they might not be worth talking to, because if they don't want to give you their time, then obviously, why would you waste yours? And, I've also heard the saying about, when you contact people, you make the effort to contact them all the time, but not very often do you hear back from them. And I remember there being a lyrics in one of the Smiths albums, probably the first album, where he said something like, you don't go to them, let them come to you, kind of thing. So sometimes that's the case as well, that if you've exhausted it and you've gone all out trying to break ice and trying to break bread, then I would say that you have to kind of realize that maybe it's you're wasting your time and they're not really interested. And if they're not interested, that's fair enough. You can just find people that are and that want to sort of talk about what you want to talk about. But also, like, it's good to be sociable. That's another side of self-confidence. A lot of people, they'll get invited out and they'll be like, oh, how can I go out? I don't know what to wear or how to talk, and what if they ask me to do something that I don't, I find hard to do or embarrassing. And again, it's all about not being afraid to kind of make a fool of yourself or make fun of yourself. Like a lot of people say about the Irish, that they're not afraid to make fun of themselves, kind of thing. And I think that's important as well, to be able to kind of get over that, because that's another part of self-confidence, is not worrying about what people think. Because obviously when you start worrying about what people think, then you kind of really you get into that mindset that you just want to bury your head in the sand, basically, and not come back. And a lot of people suffer from this, and again, it just leads to things like stress and depression, which again is something that is not a good thing at all. So we need to kind of push ourselves a bit. I remember in days when I was really struggling in previous jobs and things like that, there were certain people that I didn't quite feel their vibe, and I remember sort of having sort of sweat, clammy hands, and I would sort of leave the workplace and I would just take the work home with me. I'd be thinking about it all the time and I couldn't switch off. And sometimes it was a case of, it wasn't that I wanted to switch it off, but obviously naturally things were going on in my body and it had to run its course. And sometimes that does happen where you get kind of like feelings of that you can't sort of turn off, and they're just happening. And again, sometimes you can't even put your finger on why you're getting it. And I think it's just a natural thing that happens. And I've talked to people about it in the past. It could be things like trying to balance, or you could be if you're too happy and then you're too sad, then it's trying to sort of balance you, trying to get you sort of in the middle. So obviously it's not good to go through it too much, but I think that you definitely get stronger by going through it. I'm not sure if you can keep doing it though. I mean, if it happens too much, maybe there is a point when it can really take its toll on us. But definitely, I think it's part of life. And I've met people that have said things like, I don't get stressed, and I'm very confident and I'm not afraid of anything. And I don't really believe them. I think everybody has their fears, and but then the important thing is, as I say, to work on it and to overcome, and that is the main thing. Again, I just want to mention, because I'm really, really not a football fan. Sorry to offend any listeners that are into football. but I'm just going to be honest. And to me, it's like a lot of people like to break ice by talking about football. And, you're talking about guys that are, earning millions of pounds and basically, they couldn't really care less about the people that, watch it or support it. But at the same time, that's what most of your conversation involved, talking about them. And I've always felt like, what about your life and what about your job? And, would these footballers want to come and watch you do your job, and, take your pay, sort of thing. So, I like sport. I'm not going to pretend. I mean, I do like tennis and I like boxing, and I admit that they're high paid, sports stars within that. But I don't spend too much time talking about them or focusing on them. I think I'd rather learn about other things. And what I'm trying to get at is some people, they talk about football all day and that's their way to, break the ice, but they don't really know the people very well that they're speaking to, other than they know what team they support, what players they like, and what the score was and what the upcoming game is. But there's no kind of relationship being built there. It just feels like you don't even know the guy or the person. It's like kind of the people that go into the bars, they'll sit down, they'll have their drinking buddies, and they'll probably get a bit out of it, and by the end of the night not really remember what was spoken about, what they talked about. And usually it'll involve watching a football match in the background anyway, and maybe some misery or celebration depending on the result. And to me, it's like, sport is okay. It's it's a nice thing to talk about here and there, but I wouldn't want to have all my conversations about sport. And I've spoke about it in previous episode where we talked about sport, and I've always felt that people are very, very into it, and it is a religion of its own, because people are giving up a lot of energy and time, and relationships suffer because of it, whether it be boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, just kind of, I must watch this, and I must go down to the pub with my friends, and again, confidence, like a lot of people use drugs for confidence, or drink is a drug, but yeah, they'll rely on sort of having a few drinks, and that's their way to get confidence. And my belief is that sure, it can give you a bit of, as they say, Dutch courage for a while, but in the long run, if you keep doing it, it kind of makes you more less confident, I would say, and even more nervous and on edge, because you're relying on that. That's your crux. So you're kind of always relying on the drink to kind of get through a night. And I'd always say to people, test yourself. Go out one night and don't have a drink, just have some orange juice or some soda water, and see how you get on. See if you can still have the same conversations and confidence. So, it's important that you can do both. And I think to me, I like going out on sober nights, and just sort of experiencing it and remembering the night, and remembering the conversations and the food if you have some food, and the main thing is getting to know people as well, because you're using this thing called confidence and you're trying to build it, but you also want to build relationships as well. So it's important that you get to know the people you're talking to and understand where they're coming from and relate to them, which is again something that's lost when we go out and get drunk and stuff. It's not a way to relate. And the main thing is that we allow ourselves to build our confidence, and at the same time lose our fears, and to me that's the important thing. And hopefully we'll get to the stage where we don't have to rely on anything to be confident, and that we're just naturally confident, and we'll face our fears and we'll overcome them and become stronger people, which is what I believe we all are. We're all very powerful, much more powerful than we're told by by churches or by government, things like that. Anyway, that's my talk for this pod on the art of self-confidence. Anybody that would like to leave some feedback can email me at superbdiamondrange@gmail.com. The website's superbdiamondrange.com, and I'm also on Twitter, which is the at superbdiamondra or superbdiamondra. Thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.